So when the examiner comes out to start the road test, they'll go through the hand signals with you. So right is up, and then left is literally left or straight out, and then stop or slow down is going to be down. And then they'll go through the headlights with you, so they're going to stand out in front of the car. They might say low beams, or they might say headlights. So you just turn your headlights on, your low beams. And then when they say high beams, make sure that you actually push the lever forward to show them that the high beams are on, instead of just pulling it toward you and flicking it. They want to see that you can actually like switch them on. And then they'll just go through the signal lights and the brake lights and then start the test with you. So you want to make sure that you have all the paperwork for the car, the insurance, the permit, the paperwork for the motor vehicle inspection. Have all that ready to show the examiner, just so you don't have to dig for it when they're starting the test. If you have a driving school certificate, you want to bring that with you too. All right, so when you turn out of here, remember, don't drive out the driveway that way, because that's a one-way driveway up where the lady is walking there. So you would be parked in one of the reserved spots there. If they did tell you to turn left, they just mean for you to go down the row over that way, which is closest to the building. Or if they told you to turn right out of the reserve spots, they mean for you to go down this row here in the center. This last row here on the right is actually just parking spots, so you wouldn't actually be able to get out of the parking lot that way. So here I'm gonna turn left. So I've got my left signal light on. Gonna do a left shoulder check just to make sure there's nobody next to me. And then the end of this parking row would be like a stop sign. So I'm just gonna roll up, come to a complete stop, put my left signal light on, and then do a left shoulder check. So that would be out the left rear window, and then away I go. When you turn right out of the driveway, try to stay on the left side, just like this. So I'm staying slightly to the left, and then when I turn right, I'm less likely to hit the curb because I have a bit more space on that side. So I'm just rolling up to the sidewalk nice and chill, checking for pedestrians. There's no pedestrians, no cars coming, so I do a right shoulder check. Not accelerating yet, giving myself a chance to steer. Right about there, I start to accelerate. Now I'm keeping an eye on my driver's side mirror here. So Sackville Drive is 50 kilometers an hour. Keeping an eye on my driver's side mirror. Let's say the examiner says to turn left here. I'm going to throw my left signal light on. The mirror looks good, so I just do a left shoulder check, and then I drift over gradually into the left lane. And I'm going to leave my signal light on for the light. So this is a solid green light. I don't have the right of way, so I'm just going to slow down nice and chill like this. I'm the first car in the line waiting to turn left, so I'm in the intersection waiting. Now, if I couldn't make the turn, I would just wait for the light to go yellow. And then once everybody stops going the other way, I would be allowed to complete my turn because I was in the intersection while the light was green. This is also allowing me to see further down the hill too, to see what cars are coming. And it looks like I have a good gap there. The light's going yellow. Now I can finish my turn. Hopefully that doesn't happen on your road test. Now I'm on Pine Hill Drive, so the speed limit in this neighborhood area is 50 kilometers an hour. But on these streets in here, you won't want to drive right up at 50. That's just the maximum that you could legally drive. You just want to drive at a safe speed for each area and each situation that you're in. So here I'm going to turn left onto Prince Street. It's a rolling turn, so I don't have to stop. So I do my shoulder check before I get to my turn. Then I can just focus on the turn. 1, 2, 3. And then up here, I'm going to do a curbside park. So for a curbside park, I'm just thinking I don't want to park near a fire hydrant. So I'm going to park just past this fire hydrant behind the white car. So I've got my right signal light on. Do a right shoulder check. And then the closer I get to the curb, the slower I go. Now just barely rolling along. I've got the front wheel where I want it. Gonna turn left a little bit, watch this mirror over here, roll ahead just enough to pull the rear of the car into the curb. So as long as my passenger side tires are on the concrete portion beside the asphalt here, kind of like how that white car is, then I know I'm within 15 centimeters of the curb. So then I would put the car in park, turn on my emergency brake, and in this case here, this is a bit of an uphill, so for an uphill surface, you're going to turn all the way to the left as far as it goes. If it's a downhill surface or a level surface for this road test, you're going to turn all the way to the right. Then I'm going to set the car up to head back out, so I turn my emergency brake off. I would straighten up my steering wheel just to get it turned back so it's not turned to the left, or if it was turned to the right, I would turn it back to the left just to make sure it's straight. Put the car in drive. Now I'm going to put my left signal light on. That lets everybody on the road know I'm about to pull out. Check my driver's side mirror. It looks like it's clear, and then I just double check over my left shoulder, and then out I go. Then I'm going to turn right onto McDougall Street. So the signal light's on, right shoulder check. In this case, if someone's driving a little bit slow, that's fine. You just maintain your following distance with them. And then here I'm going to turn left at the lights. So I'm just slowing down gradually, and I'm going to stop with the front of the car pretty much on the line. Another thing I do is keep an eye on the green light that the other line of traffic has. And then when I see it go yellow, then I know I'm about to get my green. So their light just went yellow. Now it's red. Everybody's stopping. Looks like this guy is going straight. Roll out a bit. Now there's a car behind the white truck. See what they're gonna do. Car behind them. They're turning, and away we go. Left shoulder check. And then Glendale Drive is 60 kilometers an hour. So if you're on Glendale Drive, the speed limit is 60, so you want to make sure that you're up at 60. Don't try to drive like 5 under or something, thinking that like that's going to be easier. You would lose points if you drive too slow for no reason. And then I'm going to turn left onto Riverside Drive, so my left signal light is on. So I do a left shoulder check. That's the easiest way to remember when to do shoulder checks. If your signal light is on, then you would have to shoulder check to the side that you're signaling to. Now I stop out in the intersection. Looks like there's a good gap after the blue SUV, so I do a left shoulder check, and away I go. Now see, when the steering wheel spins back there, it's okay to let it slide on your hands, but make sure your hands are actually contacting the wheel so the examiner can hear it, so they know that you're controlling the wheel and you have both hands on it. You don't want to let it completely go. Now I'm at the top of Riverside, so I just let off the gas a little bit just in case somebody's pulling out of a driveway or something. It is okay to drive 50 kilometers an hour on this road because it is more of a main road and it's more wide open. Now I'm just staying on the brakes as I go down the hill. Went over a little bit, so I just pressed the brake just to bring it back down to 50. If you go over the speed limit a little bit, that's not necessarily an automatic fail. If you go over the speed limit and you don't make an adjustment, so say you're in a 50 zone and you go up to 53 and you just stay at 53 for too long, that's where you would get an automatic fail. But if I was to go down this hill here and say I go a little bit over 50, I would just adjust the speed back down to 50 and then continue on the road test. Here I'm going to turn left from Riverside Drive onto Sackville Drive. Get a green light. No pedestrians, no cars to yield to. Now I turn into the closest lane to me, which is the left lane, and then I'm gonna switch back to the right lane. But remember, the examiner is not gonna tell you that. You're just gonna do that automatically. The right lane is where you should always be driving, unless you're turning left or you have to pass somebody. And then when you stop on Sackville Drive, always try to leave the driveways open just in case somebody wants to pull out into traffic. These two traffic lights by McDonald's are synced, so just be aware of that. If the first one goes yellow, the second one will too. So I made it through the first yellow there, but I had to stop at the second one because it was red by the time I got to it. And then the road test would end just by McDonald's here where access is. So access is on the right. Sometimes they've got an orange cone there marking the driveway, or you might see the little white entrance only sign there. So that marks the driveway. It's a bit of a narrow driveway, so always take your time turning in there. So now I'm doing 50 kilometers an hour on Sackville Drive, and I'm just keeping an eye on my driver's side mirror just to see who's in the lane next to me. Then if I did have to do a lane change, it's going to make my lane change much easier. Now I'm going down the hill, so I'm just staying lightly on the brakes just so I don't go over 50 kilometers an hour. And then at the top of the hill, I'm going to let off the gas right about there. I'm at 46. The car is mostly slowing itself. I can give it a little bit more gas here. Seems like it's going to slow itself. But as long as I don't give it too much gas as I'm going down the hill, then I don't have to worry about going like over the speed limit and then having to hit the brakes and everything. A little bit of acceleration for the hill. Trying to stay at 50. This is a very hard area to stay at 50 because sometimes you'll get motorists going by really fast. But you just pay attention to the speed in the car on your speedometer. Now I'm at the top of a hill, so I'm just keeping an eye on my speed and keeping an eye on the driver's side mirror. You can see there's lots going on in that left lane there. I'm going to put my left signal light on a little bit early. Give everybody plenty of warning that I want to change lanes. The mirror looks good. Do a left shoulder check and go over gradually. Then I'm going to turn left at the lights by Petro-Canada. And when you stop, you want to be able to see the tires of the vehicle in front of you. So turn left with the arrow. I've got the right-of-way, left shoulder check, turn into the closest lane to me. Then I just gradually build my speed up, throw my right signal light on, check the right mirror, double check the right blind spot, and go over gradually. Now I'm on Cobequid Road. Going straight at these lights, and then I'm going to exit right onto Glendale Avenue down here. I've got my right signal light on. I'm going to pull up to the yield here just in case this SUV turns. So even though I have my own lane there, I just wait for them to finish their turn just in case they drift into the right lane as I'm going out into the right lane. Then I don't have to worry about colliding with them. So now I'm on Glendale Avenue, so this is 60 kilometers an hour. Then here we got a 70 zone. Right now the right lane is closed, but if the right lane is open, all you would be doing is staying in the right lane and then exiting right there before the roundabout. Okay, so in this case here, we still can exit into the right lanes. Out here we've got a yield sign. There's no pedestrians. And then here what we do, we actually have our own lane, but we just have to stay on the right. They haven't painted the lane lines here yet. So I do a left signal, check my driver's side mirror and then my left shoulder, go over gradually as I build my speed up. I'm gonna do another shoulder check here with my signal light on. And this area here, all you're gonna do is stay in the right lane and go straight down the hill. There's no posted speed limit signs, but if you look at Google, like if you look on Waze, you'll see that the speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour. And then we're just staying in the right lane and going straight down the hill. Once I get to the overpass, I want to be around 60 kilometers an hour. And I don't want to go too much slower than that because it is a highway area. And this area here is Pothole City. So just stay on the right side close to the white line here and you can avoid them all. Now we'll merge onto the highway. So we got a 70 zone here. I've got my left signal light on. Watching the mirror, it looks good. So I just do a left shoulder check, go over gradually, staying at 70 till I get close to the green sign here. Once I'm just before the overpass here, I can gradually increase my speed up to 100 kilometers an hour. So I just maintain a good lane flow so that the left lane is always flowing a little bit faster than me. And that way they can switch back to the right lane if they need to. Starting to get an uphill incline here, so I'm just going to gradually increase the acceleration just to maintain my speed. Now I'm going to exit right onto the Beaver Bank connector, so I've got my right signal light on. I'm keeping my speed up on the highway. Do a right shoulder check, and then just go over gradually into the right lane and start to brake once I'm in the lane. That way I don't slow everybody down on the highway. Doing about 60 kilometers an hour here. And then this is a weave lane. So I'm not gonna come to a stop here and yield or anything. I would just yield if somebody was directly beside me in the left lane there trying to get into the right lane. I would just brake a little bit and let them in. Now this is a 70 kilometer an hour zone. This light might go yellow. And just gradually braking down to the red light. And here I'm maintaining lane flow, so I'm not right up at 70. I'm just trying to maintain lane flow with the left lane, so they're always going a little bit faster than me. Now I'm up closer to 70. And it's gonna go to 50 down here just before the traffic lights where Starbucks is. Now I've got my right signal light on, do a right shoulder check, gradually braking into the exit lane. No pedestrians coming. No cars going through the intersection, so I'm good to go out into my lane. Now I'm at the top of a hill, so I'm just letting off the gas there. I'm at 45. Let off the gas and then the car will mostly slow itself. And what I do when I accelerate, I like to accelerate a little bit slower than the car in front of me. Then the car in front of me is basically creating my following distance for me, and it allows me to see more around that car too. Remember that the road test is never one set route. They could take you on many different ways throughout Sackville, but Sackville is generally a pretty straightforward place to drive. You've got Sackville Drive, Glendale Drive, and then lots of neighborhood areas and the highway area. Now, at 50 kilometers an hour, I'm gonna let off the gas there a bit. It does feel super slow in this area. And I'm keeping an eye on the driver's side mirror. So the left lane is looking pretty good there. I want to turn left at the lights, so I've got my left signal light on. Check the mirror and then the left blind spot, and then over I go. Now I'm turning left from Sackville Drive onto Cobblequid Road again. Left shoulder check. Turn into the left lane, which is the closest lane to me. Gradually build my speed up with the right signal light on. Mirror's looking good. Double check over the shoulder to the right blind spot, and then drift over gradually into the right lane. And then a little further up here, I want to turn left at the lights. So I'm just keeping an eye on the left lane next to me just to see who's in that lane in my mirror, and then that's going to make my lane change easier. And these guys are turning, so this is going to make my lane change much easier. So I got my left signal light on, double check my left shoulder, and just drift over gradually. Now I'm going to turn left from Cobblequid Road onto Glendale Drive. The light's going yellow, so I'm going to stop on the stop line. Now I've got a solid green light, so I can turn left. I just have to yield to all the cars that are going straight the other way and or turning right. See a good gap, so do a left shoulder check and away I go. In this case here, it's okay to stay in the left lane because the right lane is going to end there shortly. Do a little check to make sure nobody's right beside me there in the right lane. And now I'm on Glendale Drive again, so this is 60 kilometers an hour. Now I'm turning left from Glendale Drive onto Pine Hill Drive. Remember, every time you go up to a stop sign or a red light on the test, make sure you get a complete stop. So you want to actually feel the car kick back, not in an intense way or anything. You just want to feel the car kick back like that. This is an all-way stop, so I've got the right of way since I stopped first. Now I'm driving into a school zone. So the way that the school zone speed limit law works, it says 30 kilometers an hour when children are present. But when they legally define the term present, it means outside in the area. So right now it's 1 o'clock on a Friday. I'm doing 35 kilometers an hour in the school zone. So this is what I would do on the road test. And then just make sure that the examiner sees that I'm looking around a little bit and checking for children. If I did see a child outside somewhere in the area, maybe at this point here, I would just go down to 30 until I get to the end of the school zone. Have a little glance in there at the playground, make sure nobody's outside. And a little trick when you're doing left turns, you want to begin your steering when you're in the center of the intersection. And most of these intersections, there's going to be drain covers in the center. So if I put my left signal light on here, do my shoulder check, drive out close to the drain covers or even over them, and then begin steering. As I exit my turn, I'll be perfectly lined up with my new lane. So that's a little trick you can use on left turns. I find in these neighborhood areas, 35 to 40 is the average, but each situation is different, so you just decide what's a safe speed for each situation that you're in. I'm gonna turn left here so I get a full stop with the front of the car at the sign. Feel that kickback. Do a left shoulder check. Nobody's coming. I'm gonna drive out close to the center of the intersection. Then go 1, 2, 3. And here I'm gonna turn right, so I get a full stop, signal lights on, right shoulder check, drive out a little bit past the curb, and then I go 1, 2, 3. You don't have to do parallel parking on the test. You only have to do curbside parking and reverse parking after the test is done. So during the test, you'll be in the neighborhood area, you'll do the curbside park, and then when you go back at the end of the test, that's where you would do the reverse park when you're at access. So when you arrive at access to do the reverse park, you'll just pick a spot along here to do your park. So I'm gonna pick the spot that has the last portion of the fence there. So that's my spot. So I'm just gonna count 3 lines from it. If that's my spot, the first line I'm counting is the one that's ahead in the spot. So that's line number 1. Line number 2. And number 3. Now I put the car into reverse. Turn all the way to the right, do a 360 check just to make sure there's no cars or pedestrians around me, and take my time going back. On the road test, you're going to look back out the window like this most of the time, but if you slow up a little bit, it's okay to check your side mirrors just to see what's around you. The biggest thing is just to really take your time when you're doing this reverse park and observe as much around you as you can. They're also going to cover the camera, so you won't have the same cheat that I have here. Now I'm just looking at the mirror on the right, so it looks like I'm almost straight. Gonna go back a little bit further. Now that I've got the car straight, so I'm gonna stop, give myself a chance to straighten up the steering wheel, and then keep going straight back. Right there. And then that would be the test.